Trump's armada, huge task force of 12 ships set sail for Syria, and one of the biggest concentrations of US naval power since 2003 Iraq invasion. Trump, what are you doing, man? The fact of the matter is that Trump's base is generally against this. Now, he has come out and said there hasn't been a final decision made regarding this. But, dude, what are you doing? You know, like, this is the thing. If you care about the children so much, why don't you care about Yemen? Just saying. Let's jump into the story. A huge task force of 12 ships is setting sail for Syria, and one of the biggest concentrations of US naval power since the 2003 Iraq invasion has emerged. The giant nuclear-powered HSS Henry S. Truman, carrying 90 aircraft and escorted by 5-strong strike group of destroyers and cruisers, is powering towards Europe and the Middle East. A further 4 destroyers are believed to be in the Mediterranean already, including the Donald Cook Porter, Canary, and the Loberon, with 2 nuclear-powered submarines, Georgia and John Warren. I might be getting some of these names wrong. Forgive me. The deployment of the 12 US warships in one mission is the huge concentration of firepower, one of the biggest since 6 aircraft carriers supported the 203 Iraq invasion. It comes amid high tension as Donald Trump continues to consider launching airstrikes on Syria in retaliation for a chemical gas attack, which I like to call a false flag, in rebel-held town on Saturday. Russia has threatened to take down any missiles launched at the Assad regime forces using its Forsum S-400 defense system. Syrian dictator Bashar al-Assad has reportedly moved his military assets to Russian bases in the country in the hope the US and its allies would be reluctant to launch strikes anywhere near Vladimir Putin's forces. This is going to go very, very wrong. On Thursday, White House said the final decision had not been made on Syria. Yeah, it's a bit late to turn around when they're already there, isn't it, Donald? Donald Trump has said earlier in the day that Americans won't have to wait long for a response to Saturday's horrifying chemical weapons attack on a rebel-held town that left 40 dead and others gasping for air. Dude, you don't even know if you haven't even got the facts on it. They haven't even sent in independent verificators. They're all believing the white hats. This is insane. It really is. Oh, by the way, the white hats are funded by the deep state. Like, I wonder who's pushing this prerogative. I wonder. But at least 2 of his top advisors couldn't agree on whether there's sufficient proof to blame the atrocity on dictator Bashar al-Assad's government, leaving the possibility of retaliation attack to an open-ended question. Americans, allies, and adversaries alike were awaiting a signal from the White House about whether Trump will follow through on his warning that missiles will be coming, potentially putting Russian troops in harm's way. At the close of business, the White House said that Trump had concluded a meeting with his national security team and was speaking again later to the heads of the government in France and the UK. I'm glad Australia's not getting involved in this, to be honest. No final decision has been made, Press Secretary Sarah Sanders said. We're continuing to assess intelligence and are engaged in conversations with our partners and allies. Trump suggested he'll have an answer in hours, telling reporters, "It's too bad that the world puts us in a position like that, but as I said this morning, we've done a great job with ISIS, but we've absolutely decimated ISIS. But now we have to make some future decisions, so they'll be made fairly soon." This is all for a friggin' pipeline. This is what they're doing. Anyway, moving along. But Capitol Hill Defense Secretary James Mattis told the House Armed Service Committee that the US hasn't reached any conclusions. Hopefully the advisors can get through to him. Quote, "I believe there was a chemical attack," Mattis told lawmakers, "and that we're looking for the actual evidence," he said. He wanted to see inspectors on the ground in Syria within the week. And that's what I would like. If there was a weapon or chemical weapons attack, send in inspectors. Find out who actually launched these chemical weapons. Because I bet you'll find it's the guys that were getting their ass kicked by the Syrian forces that did it, if anybody has actually done it. As each day goes by, as you know it's non-persistent gas, it becomes more and more difficult to confirm it. Yeah, let's just drag it out as long as we can, then we can't confirm if it's him or not. The US Henry S. Truman and its support ships were due to leave Naval Station Norfolk in Virginia on Wednesday. It's accompanied by the cruiser USS Normandy and the US destroyer Farragut, might be mispronouncing, US Forrest Sherman, and the US Berkeley and the US Alana Burke. Also among the strike group's ships is the German frigate FGS Hensen, a state-of-the-art vessel specializing in air defense. The US Navy's official said that Hensen is the only type of ship in the Western world with 3 kinds of surface-to-air missiles. Its radar has detection of more than 200 nautical miles for its air targets. Already in position is the US Donald Cook, an American destroyer equipped with up to 60 Tomahawk land attack missiles. In April last year, Trump ordered 59 Tomahawk strikes on the Syria air base in response to a chemical weapons attack on the rebel-held Khan Sien. By the way, that chemical weapons strike, they still don't have any proof it was him. They actually came out and admitted they don't have proof it was him. Like, oops, sorry, we kind of fired at your air base. A year later, we still don't have proof it was you, but it's good enough for us to let, 59 Tomahawk missiles go. Trump's support base did not vote for this. You are going to lose your support base. These strikes were launched from 2 US warships stationed in the Mediterranean. Trump and his national security aides on Thursday discussed US options on Syria, where he has threatened missile strikes in response to poison gas attack, as Russian envoy voiced fears of wider conflict between Washington and Moscow. Worries about a confrontation between Russia, Syria's big ally, and the West have begun running high since Trump said on Wednesday that missiles will be coming. In response to the attack, the Syrian town of Douma on April 7th and lambasted Moscow for standing by Syrian President Bashar al-Assad. As far as I know, al-Assad, he's a dictator, yeah, sure. But he hasn't done anything with his chemical weapons. You are literally prosecuting a guy before you even have an ounce of proof that he has done something. Whatever happened to innocent until proven guilty? Trump's temper on those remarks on Thursday, and even as he consulted allies such as Britain and France, would join in the US-led strike on Syria. There were signs of effort to prevent the crisis from spiraling out of control. Never said an attack on Syria would take place. Could be very soon or not at all. Trump wrote on Twitter, raising the prospect that the attack might not be as imminent as he seemed to suggest the day before. I'll get there eventually. Trump met his national security team on the situation in Syria later the day, and no final decision had been made, the White House said in a statement. Quote, "We're continuing to assess intelligence and engaged in conversations with our partners and allies," it said. It did not necessarily signal, however, that Trump was cooled off by the idea of military action, especially given the high stakes in Syria. US officials noted that Washington was still assessing intelligence and coordinating allies. Trump spoke to Britain Prime Minister Theresa May on Thursday, and 2 leaders talked about the need for a joint response to Syria's use of chemical weapons, the White House said. May's office said they agreed on the need to deter Assad's government from further such attacks. You don't even know if he's done this one. Can you put prime ministers of UK and even Trump, if he does this, up for war crimes if they get this wrong? Because someone has to have some sort of accountability. This is really pissing me off. Trump, we did not... Oh, I didn't vote this. Your base did not vote for this. Remember when you turned around and said no more proxy wars? Trump was also due to speak with the French President Emmanuel Macron, who said France had proof the Syrian government carried out the attack near Damascus. Really? What is that proof? Witness statements from the White Hats, who are embedded with ISIS. which 8 groups have said killed dozens of people. There's the thing. That's their proof. Quote, which 8 groups, they meaning the white hats, have said. That's their proof. Oh my God, he did it. Okay, we'll believe you. You might be in bed with ISIS, but we'll believe you. And we'll decide whether to strike back with all necessary information has been gathered. We have proof that last week, chemical weapons used, at least with chlorine, they were used by the regime of Bashar al-Assad, Macron said, without offering details of any evidence. Let me repeat, without offering any details of evidence. Macron told Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin during a telephone call Friday he wanted to intensify talks on bringing peace to Syria, Macron's office said. The President of the Republic said he wanted the dialogue between France and Russia to continue and intensify in order to bring peace and stability to Syria. The French President said that after the call, which came as the West ponders the possible strikes on Syria in retaliation for the suspected chemical attack. 2 US officials familiar with the investigation of samples from Dogma and the symptoms of victims said initials indicate that a mix of weaponized chlorine gas and sarin were used in the attack appear to be correct, but the US intelligence agencies have not completed their assessment or reached a final conclusion, the office said. Russia, Syria, and its other main backer, Iran, have said reports that Dogma attack were fabricated by rebels, and rescue workers have accused the United States of seeking to use it as a pretext to attack the Syrian government. Russia said they deployed the military police in Dogma on Thursday after the town was taken over by government forces. They are guarantors of law and order in the town, RIA news agency quoted Russian Defense Minister saying. This morning, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, might be mispronouncing, said he hoped that there would be no repeat of the experience of Libya and Iraq in the Syrian conflict. Yeah, what was the last time? What happened last time when the US went in and toppled a dictator? Oh wait, we have slave auctions, ISIS and other terrorist groups taking over. But hey, at least we liberated Libya and Iraq, right? God forbid anything adventurous will be done in Syria following the Libyan and Iraqi exercise, Levak told the news conference on Friday. He said even the smallest miscalculation in Syria could lead to new waves of migrants, and the ultimates and threats do not help the dialogue. I have to agree with the Russian on this one. Even non-significant incidents would lead to new waves of migrants to Europe and to other consequences, which neither we nor our European neighbours need, Levaki, whatever his name is, said. United States is discussing with allies a military response to an alleged gas attack by Syrian government forces on the town of Dogma that killed dozens of people, which could lead to a confrontation with Russia. Russia and the United States are using their channels of communications on Syria, according to Lavrov. As for the channels, they are periodically conversations between presidents and quite regular channels between the military. They are being used, the minister said. There were signs of a global effort to head off direct confrontation between Russia and the West. The Kremlin said a crisis communications link with the United States, created to avoid an accident clash over Syria, was in use. Navasy Brasa, Moscow ambassador to the United Nations, said he cannot exclude war between the United States and Russia and urged Washington and its allies to refrain from military actions against Syria. The immediate priority is to avoid the dangers of war, he told reporters. We hope there will be no point of no return, the envoy said. A team of experts from the Global Chemical Weapons Watchdog, the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons, was travelling to Syria and will start its investigation on Saturday. Bloody hurry up with that thing, will you? The Netherlands-based agency said it was not clear whether Trump and the US allies would wait for the results of the investigation board before deciding on a strike. The US Defense Secretary Jim Mattis told Congress he believed that there was a chemical attack in Syria, but added a short while later that the United States had not made any decision to launch military action. He also suggested he was examining ways to prevent any strikes from triggering a border conflict. If the US strikes Syria, all that's going to help is ISIS. You're literally helping ISIS! Like, oh my god! I don't want to talk about a specific attack that is not yet in the offering. It'll be pre-decisional, Mattis told the House of Representatives Armed Service Committee. Moscow is estimated to have dozens of aircraft at its Haman air base in Syria, including fighters and bombers, as well as 10 to 15 warships and support vessels in the Mediterranean. The Syrian government and the Russian forces in Syria posed truck-mounted surface-to-air missiles and anti-aircraft artillery weapons systems. Nervous world stock market showed sign of recovery after Trump signalled the military strike might not be imminent. Britain's May won backing from her senior ministers to take unspecific action with the United States and France to deter further use of chemical weapons by Syria. And what happens if it's the rebels that launched it? Are you going to go in and kill the people that falsified this report? Do you go then and take out the white hats? Or take out the ISIS fighters that launched it? That's what I like to know. May had recalled the ministers from their Easter holiday for a meeting and discussed Britain's response to what she had cast as a barbaric attack that cannot go unchallenged. Russian ships had left the Tunis naval base in Syria. And a Fox, might be mispronouncing, news agency quoted Russian lawmakers as saying, Vladimir Shmatok, I might be mispronouncing, who chairs the Defense Committee of the lower house, said vessels had departed the base for their own safety, which was normal practice when there were threats of attack. Meanwhile, Germany's foreign minister said today the Western powers must step up the pressure on Russia over its role in Syria's civil war, and that the chemical weapons attack cannot pass without consequences. It's funny, one country that doesn't want mass migration is now also being targeted by Germany, who's the leader of the EU at the moment. Funny how that works, isn't it? After talks in Brussels with European Commission Chief Jean Juckner, might be mispronouncing, Heiko Maas condemned Moscow's Assad key ally for repeatedly blocking resolutions on Syria at the UN Security Council. Not entirely true. We must increase pressure on Russia to force to change attitude. Everyone knows there is only a solution to the conflict in Syria with Russia, Massa said. I don't get that sentence, but anyway. Germany has ruled out taking part in any military actions, and Maas warned against starting an escalation spiral. But he gave his support to the French proposal to bring those responsible for chemical weapons before an international court. Let's just make sure we get the right people, hey, and not the ones that, seem to want to go against your EU agenda. I'm also of the opinion that what happens there cannot remain without consequences, he said. Yes, but let's just make sure we get the right people. Syria has been high on the agenda with the EU foreign ministers, including mass gathering in Luxembourg for their monthly talks. Why does the EU care about Syria? That's interesting, isn't it? And I'm pretty sure they cared about Syria long before this chemical attack. I actually even got reports to say that this chemical weapons, this chlorine, was actually made in Germany. There's that going around on the internet, so maybe there's something in that. I'm not quite sure. The bloc is expected to condemn the dogma incident and reiterate its long-standing call for political resolution to Syria's bloody 7-year conflict. Okay. Look, I've been pretty vocal through this article, so you generally get my point. Look, I don't have a problem going after Assad if he actually did it. However, everything I have seen has said that he is not involved in this whatsoever. Look, at the end of the day, do I think this is a false flag? Yes. I think that the ISIS have done it. They've launched it, if anyone has. The white hats have completely fabricated it, if it hasn't happened at all. And even maybe there's a conspiracy theory going around the internet that Germany gave ISIS these chemical weapons or these chlorine canisters. I'll try and find a photo and put it up here. But yeah, at the end of the day, apparently these chlorine canisters are made in Germany. So that's obviously interesting. But yeah, look, at the end of the day, I don't think Assad did this. I really don't. Look, is he a dictator? Yes. Is he an arsehole? Yes. But, you know, hey, let's not chastise him for everything that he has not done. Let's chastise him for what he does do. And, you know, I must admit, he's pro-Christian. He really does stick up for the Christians, where ISIS wants to kill them all. So, you know, there's that. Like I say, there's worse people out there in the Middle East than Assad. Funny how they only want to seem to go for him, though, isn't it? Sure, it has nothing to do with this pipeline that they're building for oil. Nothing at all whatsoever. But guys, let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. Do you think that this is going to escalate? Do you think the US will back down? Do you think that inspectors will find anything? Or do you think Assad is a false flag? Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. If this video has been helpful, please smack a like. If you're new to the channel, welcome and subscribe. Apart from that, guys, I'll see you in the next demonetized video from YouTube. Have a great day and enjoy.